Okay, thank you for coming. For those of you that don't know, I'm Joanna Blackmore, one of the founders and chair of this fabulous group of women called Independent Women in Leadership. In my real life, I'm the owner of the Blackmore Levy Group. And if you don't know what we do, we help you build your financial house the right way. The aim of the Independent Women in Leadership is to create a network of professional business women in both the corporate and entrepreneurial sectors. Our mandate is to bring value to our members by helping each other connect, share experiences, and support one another in business and to grow and educate so we can build a better community for all. Our last in-person event was March 4th, the International Women's Day event we put on in collaboration with 7 other fabulous women's groups at the Nouveau Network. If you were there, thank you for coming. And if you weren't, you missed something fabulous. There was over 500 women. And then COVID hit. March 13th, everything shut down. And so since April, we've literally been doing this every month online. And we've been very lucky. Just like today, we're on Zoom and we wave to each other virtually. I say, as long as you're dressed from the waist up, you're doing okay. Luckily, we've had a great turnout and some incredible ladies speaking on topics that are very meaningful, especially now with this pandemic. Going into phase 2, maybe, probably, hopefully not. But today we're doing something a little different. We're having a lovely panel of 4 fabulous ladies. They're going to talk about making a big difference in their business and career. I'm going to be talking to the ladies, and if you have any questions, could you please write them down, because we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. I'd like to start with the fabulous Linda Barnett. Hi, Linda.
Hello, everyone.
So, Linda, you've been retired from the bank. You had a successful career with the bank, and you left. You retired happily, and you wanted to do something else. You weren't ready to crochet. Put your feet up and crochet. You'd always wanted to open a tea house. Jim said no. Jim is your other half. You have some beautiful china in your home, beautiful china sets. Actually, you have quite a few beautiful china sets in your home. And you have a passion for making tea parties, and the traveling tea room was launched. Mm-hmm. How did your business evolve from the traveling tea room to a group of related businesses?
It's a wonderful question, and thank you very much for inviting me to be a panelist today. It's lovely to be here. When I started the traveling tea room, it was my intent to present an exceptional food and entertainment experience, as well as offer specialty tea-themed related items, private label teas, and unique jewelry pieces for sale. But as the business grew, the collection did as well. I attended tea festivals from the start of my business, and this strategy helped bring people to my booth. When you're there selling a tea party, not very many people want to speak with you. But I found that the jewelry was an excellent icebreaker, which allowed me the opportunity to explain what we're all about and what we offer. Initially, I started with a select few pieces of sterling silver teapot jewelry, as well as angel necklaces by Canadian designer Jacqueline Kent. Eventually, I expanded my items to include fascinators, enlarging my jewelry collection, as well as accessories, scarves, and other fashion-forward items. I've also developed 2 lines of specialty teas. One is an angel herbal tea, as well as a collection of 7 chakra yoga teas with gemstone bracelets and pendants to accompany the teas. I've also introduced a note card stationery line, and I've recently published a cookbook. And if anyone is familiar with the flagship store of home hardware on Appleby Line in Burlington, they now carry my note cards and cookbook, and I find that very exciting. It's really, really nice. So I hope that's answered the question.
Absolutely. So a few months ago, I hosted a Zoom jewelry party for you.
Yes.
And it was successful. And then you went crazy. You went straight onto Facebook Live, never doing anything like that before, and you haven't stopped.
Well, that's true. When COVID-19 changed our lives in mid-March, 18 events were canceled. I was devastated. And I will admit, there were a lot of tears that went along with that. But in addition to hosting private functions in people's homes and office, I also host the public afternoon tea programs for the Royal Botanical Gardens, as well as Drummond Manor in Waterdown. I knew that I needed to pivot from tea parties to focusing more on the boutique side of my business. And Joanna coordinated a Zoom open house for me, for which I am forever grateful, sort of broke the ice. And from then, I developed a series of Facebook Live presentations showcasing my jewelry, etc., as well as the accessories and teas. And the one bit of advice on Facebook, I believe that I have experienced every hiccup there is to experience on Facebook Live. Just persevere. Don't let it scare you. Just do it with fear and go forward, go for it. But in addition to that, I believe that collaboration is really important. And I've done that with many businesses. For example, I collaborated with Morella's Ladies Boutique in Burlington, where we discussed bridal shower teas. And on a separate occasion, I introduced my line of chakra yoga teas with a series called Tea Meets Fashion. I've collaborated with Gloria Clark from Terra Teas Organic in Hamilton to develop the line of chakra yoga teas. I also collaborated with Lori Dolan, who's on our call, of Engage Your Potential. And we completed a 5-week series entitled Mindfulness Tea Experience Meditation on Facebook Live. I collaborated with eEssential Wellness in Burlington, who developed a green tea lip balm exclusive for the traveling tea room that will protect people's lips while wearing their mask. And most recently, I collaborated with Appleby Place retirement residents on Appleby Line to create and co-brand a signature of apple tea to commemorate their 30th anniversary. And they're going to have year-long celebrations. So I believe that collaboration is essential during these times. Supporting others in their business ventures and finding common ground expands your base. I introduced a monthly virtual tea party on Zoom that brought people together during isolating times. And I produce a monthly newsletter that is emailed to subscribers and customers that shares important information about upcoming events and new products for sale. It's a wonderful way of staying in touch and keeping the traveling tea room top of mind. I think it's important to have a website, as well as a Facebook page and an Instagram page. But more importantly, I think it's essential to keep them current with engaging and entertaining articles, as well as letting everyone know what's new at the traveling tea room. It helps keep us all connected. That was a bit of a long-winded story, but anyway, hopefully that answered your question.
It did. Joan and I have hosted numerous tea parties with our friends and family, and I wanted to just say you have such a large array of assortments and your menu is huge. What made you come up with the menu you have? Like the fabulous menu you have.
That is a great question, because I believe it's really important to engage the hostess in the tea party process. It's their party. Get them involved in it. And I think that that's where it creates all the excitement. I meet with the hostess and I customize the menu from our wide variety of options in case. And then I suggest teas to complement the menu that they've chosen. I also take into account various food sensitivities. As well, it's important to keep current and identify future needs that they might have. For example, our afternoon tea plan with tea leaf readings is really popular, as is the matriarch afternoon tea plan. But the appreciation tea for business is extremely popular with professionals looking to deepen relationships with colleagues and with customers alike. But each party is unique, and I believe that having one set menu does not fit all. Listening to our customers, working with them to deliver a memorable experience is what I do. My standards are high, as are my heels, and I do not compromise.
That's true. Joan and I have experienced that by bringing our clients and family and friends together was really good. And each one was different, which was really nice and
It
unique.
makes it fun and it makes it unique.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
What new advertising platforms did you develop to stay in touch with your current customers, expand your customer base?
Well, I've been doing a lot of Facebook Live. I have been doing Instagram. I'm also creating my own videos now. And I really enjoy doing that because you can always do a retake on Facebook Live. That's it. And I'm finding the videos are allowing me to expand and show all of the different products that I have in a more versatile way. And I think that that's engaging. My website is always there, and my newsletter rather is what I send out to my customers on a monthly basis, and I do that consistently. And I guess the key is consistency. You need to always do it. So.
Well, I'll tell you something. I found this beautiful piece on your video because I watch your videos. Because
Thank you.
You had Christmas in July.
Yes.
I thought that was, and it was, you had the good topics, and then you did bracelets and earrings and necklaces. And because we're on Zoom, I'm a bigger lady, so my necklace is always long. Well, no one can see them on Zoom, so I needed some shorter pieces. So those videos, the reason I have some shorter necklaces. So
well, they are engaging. I do the videos myself, but there's a wonderful app if you're looking to do videos with just music and you have a series of things that you would like to show. It's called Scoompa Video, and it's marvelous. It's a free app. It's relatively easy to use, and I've been doing that quite a bit. And that was the vehicle that I used for Christmas in July. I did the 12 days of Christmas, so I had created 12 different videos. And it always had, you know, it allowed me to have holiday music in the background and snow falling and all kinds of fun things. And it was really engaging. It's just as much fun really to create as it is to watch.
Well, thank you very much, Linda.
Thank you.
Our second speaker is Kristina. Hello, Kristina.
Hello, Joanne, and hello, ladies.
Lovely. You are a graphic artist, and you started working very young. You were very fortunate to work with some very large commercial clients, banks, insurance companies, and big corporations. You did very well at a very young age. You were doing a lot of marketing and communications for these large companies. You also started doing some consulting on the side. How did you come to the decision to start your own business versus working for an established company?
Well, thank you again for having me. I'm very excited to share my story and my journey with all these ladies. It really, my career has kind of ebbed and flowed with my life and what was going on at that time. So in particular, when it comes down to having a daughter, and I was a single mom for a good part of that. So really, when I started very young, I was very fortunate to work for some top Fortune 500 companies. I moved very quickly up in the ranks as a management position in my early 20s, really due to some tenacity and just hard work, but and relentless approach to the detail that I've for all the projects. But you know, some life changes, which we'll maybe touch on later in a small way. I decided to leave for personal reasons, and I ventured out on my own. And really, how that happened was, I initially was reached out by one of the banks, actually, who said, you know, we want to work with you still, and we'll do it on your terms. So I was working for them, and then I was consulting. And that worked really fabulous when I had my daughter, because I could work my own hours. It was really hard. I didn't have maternity leave, so I was back at work at 3 weeks, and she was 3 weeks old. But it really was accommodating for me to be able to raise my daughter at home. However, then she became a toddler, and then, you know, my whole perspective changed, and I was like, oh my God, I need not to do any more baby talk. I need to be with adults and be adulting, and I really miss that hustle and bustle and that energy of downtown Toronto and in the financial district where I was working, and the really high level projects, which I was doing, but I wasn't incorporating, you know, into the office, and I wasn't meeting people in the same way. We didn't have Zoom, and we did everything on fax and email, and so it wasn't as personal. So, and after, I know we're doing this all now with COVID, but I really, really craved getting out of my home office. So, and then I went back. So I worked for several years doing that hustle bustle again, working for the company, working for, these organizations. And I started to feel the burnout again. And I was like, oh, it was the most stressful part of my day was actually just dropping my daughter on and off to daycare and trying to hustle bustle back and forth. But what I did learn was that, from working for an organization like that, I learned so many different skills. I learned management skills. I learned presentation skills. I learned how to budget for departments. I was interfacing with finance, sales, marketing, obviously, because I'm part of that, but HR, PR. So I learned so much, and I had such a great fortune to work with these fabulous clients. And I think it's really important to follow your passion, but it's also really important to be pragmatic. Because running a business is not really like those lady boss Instagrams that you see online. It's not, pastel and rosy. There's a lot of what I call sweat equity that gets involved there. So you'll be wearing a lot of hats when you first start out. And because I was consulting and I kind of flip-flop between working as an employee and working as a consultant, I sort of was able to be exposed to both worlds and all the different disciplines that would come with that. So when you start as a solopreneur, you do have to wear all those hats, as I said. But what I really also learned a lot was the networking component of it. So I made so many great relationships throughout the years, and those relationships still stay with me. Some have retired, some keep going, or they've joined different companies. And it's not just, the people that I worked for. It could be the vendors, the suppliers. You never know who you're going to meet. And, then I went back and I worked as an employee again. So as I said, I flip-flopped as, my life was going back and forth through things. But I realized at a certain point, if I'm working 40, 60, 80 hours a week, which I was always working more than 40 hours a week, and I put everything into that company and I'm not really seeing, the reward or the fulfillment, and I'm dealing with bureaucracy and red tape that you often see in a lot of these large companies, or maybe your core values aren't really, or mine, necessarily aligned all the time, right? So there's the good, bad, and ugly, like you might say later. But I always took learning lessons from that. So at this point in my life, I feel a desire, and I'm shifting again. So with that knowledge and experience and the connections I've made throughout the industry, I'm going to apply this to my own business. I'll still keep my consulting alive, but I'm going to apply it into something else where I've always been passionate about women's rights and equality and equity, but also health, well-being, and cannabis. And a lot of people know me about cannabis because I've been involved in the space. And I'm also a medical patient, so I'm a very passionate, product of that. So I'd rather take the risk on myself at this point in my life, and, and take all that knowledge that I've gained throughout those years and focus on what I want to focus on and elevate women in business and society and create products that will really speak to them.
Thank you. So, Kristina, you've been involved with some business partnerships and some investors, quite a few. And you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, as I love to say. So you can guide some people through things that they should be looking out for. The red flags.
Yes, there's good flags and there's red flags. And as you say, the good, bad, and ugly, I really kind of gone the gamut with all of that. And I like to always say to remember that a partnership is like a marriage, okay? So, and now in fact, it's actually harder to leave a marriage. Or harder to leave a partnership than a marriage, sorry. I don't want to diminish divorce or what it, I can really relate to all those tribulations. However, just because you're friends with somebody for 20 years, or they're your neighbor, or you've worked with them, and this could be, one partner, or it could be a group of partners, or even an investor that's silent. You're really making a financial commitment. And unless you do your due diligence, you really are putting yourself at risk financially, and also the time that you're going to put forth. So through my own experience, I would say I've learned a lot. Really understand if that partner is aligned with your core vision and your core values. As I was saying, just like a company, it's actually really similar, but you have a financial investment this time. So do they share a long-term game? Or are they looking for a short-term gain? So these are things you really have to talk about. Are they willing to put in that sweat equity, as I call it? Are you going to work 60 hours a week building this business and they put 5 or 10? There's so many things to think about. Do they have equal funds to bring to the table to get your business started? If they don't, maybe they have other things they can bring to the table, but are they equally compensated in that and reflected in your corporation? So paperwork and legal advice is always what I would suggest. Just like a marriage, if you have assets, you would have a prenup. So if you're going to enter a partnership, engage with a legal basically a lawyer that really specializes in corporate law. So you have your papers drawn up. You have to think about even, you know, the unlikely. Maybe you'll have the most fantabulous, I like that, I created this new word today, fantabulous partner, but, you know, maybe something happens. Maybe they get sick. Maybe they pass away. Do you have Kingman's insurance? And if they do pass away, what's going to happen to the company? Will the spouse or the children inherit that? Do you want that? I mean, you have to think about all these scenarios. So there are a lot of things that you have to discuss. And the core values and the vision, I think, are one of the most important places to start, or else there'll be dysfunction, just like a marriage. So don't rush. I always say, don't rush into partnership. Do your due diligence, just like you don't want to get married maybe through the drive-through Vegas chapel. And if you don't get that divorce right away in the first week, you might find it very hard to extract yourself. So if you realize you've made a mistake, we've all made mistakes. I can say I have in my past. You know, you want to extract yourself probably quickly as possible. Get a lawyer again. Hopefully you have paperwork to go back to, and always revisit if you have a partnership. Revisit those incorporation papers and the partnership arrangements every couple of years or every 5 years. You know, the company could really grow and things could really change. And if you don't revisit that, things could be quite messy later if someone decides to leave. So really, that's really, I guess, my main advice. Do your due diligence, make sure you share the same core values, get legal advice. And I think that's, you know, really just know what they're wanting to put into it and what they want to get out of it. And is it the same as you?
Thank you. When I first met you, I met you through Independent Women in Leadership, and you came to all our events and became one of the ambassadors. I'd always seen you in a business at one of our seminars. And then one day, so I got to know you as a business level, like another business professional woman. And then one day you joined us for dinner, and I was blown away. Like what I learned about you. You have, not only you live in Burlington, you have a beautiful house, you have a 20-year-old daughter, Chloe, that's at uni in Ottawa, and you've been widowed twice.
Yes, always expect the unexpected. I never thought my life would be like that. So yeah, I know you have another question probably to lead into.
I was going to say, what inspires you and propels you each day and every day to stay motivated?
Well, I mean, I don't know, I just get up every morning, but really the main answer to that would be probably my daughter, Chloe. You know, there was a reality I had to, as a single parent, I had to provide for her. So that would get me up every morning, but also I had to be true to myself. I've always been a go-getter. I had 4 younger brothers, so I like to boss around too. So I was always, you know, the one orchestrating things. But I also am a creative person, so I have that creative soul, and I want to keep creating and making things, right? So really be a creator, be inspirational. For my daughter, I want to be a role model, and really for other young women, because especially I think a lot of people in our generation, or a lot of women in our generation can speak. There was a lot of, you know, limits and boundaries that were, you know, maybe placed on us. They weren't necessarily real, but they were subconsciously put onto us by society and by where we worked, and even maybe by our parents. And I really want to break all those boundaries, and I want to tell young ladies that they can do anything and everything. You know, I'm not always the perfect parent or the perfect, you know, business owner or anything like that. I make lots and lots of mistakes. I also want to instill for women and my daughter, the most important thing is you will fail, you will make mistakes. But the most important thing is to get up, dust yourself off, and keep going. And sometimes you might take a little longer to get up because I've gone through that, you know, and financially it was very hard. I won't get into all the nitty gritties of that, but basically almost penniless after a couple of those incidences and not knowing where the finances were, etc. So to me, success is all relative too. It's not all about driving a fancy car, having a huge bank account, or living in a big house. These things you can't take with you. So I always ask the real reason what really propels you, my daughter, but I ask myself, why? Why am I doing this each day? Why am I working for this company? Why am I running my own business? Why am I doing anything that I do? It could be anything at home or in my work. So if you have that purpose and purpose-led brand or purpose-led life, I think everything will fall into place. And the most important thing I would always say is to be brave. People always say, you're so strong. And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of being strong. It gets tired, right? So, but I can be brave. And I think the others, and keep being brave. I always say that keep being brave. Don't give up and keep going.
Which is very true. Women are very good at, I call it, we put lipstick and mascara on. We all look fabulous on the outside, but no one really knows what's going on inside. And we're very good at masking that. But
Yes.
thank you very much. I really appreciate your openness. So our third guest is the lovely Irene Derosa. Irene, you started your business in corporate. You worked downtown Toronto with big corporations too. And you ended up working with one of the big banks, begins with R and ends in a C, and moved back to Niagara. You were in Niagara Falls, and you were there. You did very well. You worked your way up into the business banking world, and you were successful. And then you left. Why did you decide to leave the bank after 19 years with full benefits and pension? And why?
Why? Well, again, thank you for having me and allowing me to share my story and my insights, because it's, we all go through a journey, and I really enjoyed what I did at the bank, and I help business owners get financing to start or grow their business. And more, I felt like I was not able to offer my clients all of the options. It was, the bank was too restrictive, and I was not happy. I had just split up with my husband after 22 years of marriage the year before. And so within a year, I split up with my husband. I bought a new home, did major renovations. My daughter started university. My son started high school. So I figured, what's one more change in my life? What the heck? So anyhow, some people thought I was crazy leaving the bank, because you get that steady paycheck, you have your pension down the road, you got benefits. So it was a big risk for me, as I was now a single mother of two teenagers and the sole income earner. So, I just figured if you're not happy with what you're doing, then we need to make changes. And I had started to look at other jobs, but I didn't want to stay in banking. Then one of my clients, who was a real estate developer, was telling me about a couple of major projects that he was working on, and he asked me to join his company. I thought long and hard about it, but it just sounded so exciting, because he created a position for me, coordinating financing and also gathering properties for these two major projects in Niagara. So the offer really appealed to me, because I had bought my first property at age 18, and I had several properties, and a couple of them were, I had the intention of developing them, down in the future. So I took the leap, and I remember when I first started this job, my daughter used to ask, call and say how was it going, and I kept saying, I love my job, I love my job. And I hadn't said that in years. And what I liked was not only, coordinating some of the deals, but I especially liked the independence and the freedom that I got with this job that I didn't have at the bank. And I'm entrepreneurial at heart. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, and I always gave great advice to my clients for their business and personal finances. But, as time went on and the projects were being completed, I felt there was something missing, and I was always open to other opportunities. I like being part of the community, and I always got involved in Rotary and the chamber. And so, but people still knew me as the Royal Bank lady. And even though I had, left the bank, they were always asking me for financial advice, and I guided them on what to do or referred them to others. And while I didn't miss the bank, I missed my clients and my ability to directly help them and guide them. And I really enjoyed the fact that I could see my clients' pride and growth in their business. And, rather than waiting years for a major development to come to completion, with this corporate project, I just felt something was missing. So this job, this new job that I took after the bank was really a stepping stone to, what I realized now was what I really wanted to do. And I was there for a few years, and what I loved to do was help individuals and businesses. So I think leaving the bank gave me the courage to leave the comfort of a steady paycheck. Because some people, when I left, they said, oh my gosh, what about your pension? But people were at the bank were not happy. They were complaining. They were always stressed. Somebody was always on a stress leave. So I thought, do I want to live my life like this, as you get older. So I always looked for, other opportunities, and I like the social interaction with people and business owners and finding out about their businesses. So I had joined a lot of networking groups besides, the community, volunteering, etc. And then one of these networking events 6 years ago, I met you, Joanna, at one of your business networking events. So I just truly believe that, opportunities and people come into our lives just at the right time, and we have to seize those opportunities.
Wow, thank you. So, as you said, we originally met at a networking event just over 6 years ago and had lots of great conversations. What made you join Blackmore Levy Group?
Well, when I met you, like I said, it was one of your business networking events and in Burlington. And I remember you were just so friendly and welcoming. And I really didn't know what you did. I just knew that you were, coordinating this event. And it was probably almost a year that we had spoken many times. And one night after one of these events that we stayed and we chatted for a long time. And we had a really detailed conversation. I really found out what you did. And what I liked about what you said and what Blackmore Levy Group offered is I liked your ethics and your values and how you truly cared about people and helped them with their finances, because that's the way I was like at the bank. Although, the bank and a lot of other financial services, they use a lot of industry jargon and they were pushing products. And I didn't like that. We had quotas and goals to meet, and they always, so wanted you to sell products that made the bank and the salespeople more money and more commission. So I thought it was more important to help people rather than, selling them the product of the month. And I liked the fact that you talked in layman's terms and made sure that you educated people with, with the right information. So for me, I have to feel right about what I'm doing. If you trust your gut and your women's intuition, your women's intuition will never steer you wrong. So I decided to start referring people to you. As you know, Joanna, you taught me a lot about finance and things that I never knew and was not taught at the bank. And my eyes were really open, because the banks only tell their clients and their employees about the products and services they offer. They don't tell you about other options. So I felt restricted as to what I could offer my clients. So, even though I was happy where I was, people that I referred you were extremely pleased with what you did for them and gave you great reviews. So I'm a very private person. So I actually broke down and let you help do my financial plan. And I was blown away. Because after 19 years at the bank, I was never given such thorough personal financial advice and a free financial blueprint. And to me, that was just, unbelievable, because other advisors or other companies that I knew, you had to have so much money before they even talk to you. And some of them even, charge you for what you did to me. So this was refreshing. And the last time that I had applied for a loan at the bank where I worked, I applied for a line of credit for my business. My manager criticized me for having so much property. And I guess he didn't like the fact that I had success outside the bank. And, we all have to motivate ourselves and work hard. And I was a hard worker. I had 2 kids. My husband had his own business. So I was almost like a single parent, just because my husband was working in his business. So, it was challenging, but, I just realized that, you have to embrace change. And after you did my financial plan, I just had this feeling that I really knew that this was what I needed to be doing to help other people. And I was really excited, because I knew that I could help so many more people with their finances. And I like the fact that, with Blackmore Levy Group, you truly educated people, and you didn't use all that financial jargon like the banks do. And what I like is we help everybody, no matter what their financial situation is. We help people with money. We help people without money. You don't have to have a certain amount before you deal with us. So, while I had done a lot of commercial and business lending, there was still so much I had to learn about personal finance, you know, doing it the right way. And I love that we can we're basically a one-stop shop, and that we can take care of our clients' needs, from insurance and mortgages and their debt, and helping them, you know, save for a comfortable retirement. And I love the fact that with Elaine's help, you rebranded, and we now call ourselves financial architects, and we say we help build your financial house the right way from the ground up. And that's so different from calling ourselves just a plain old, you know, financial advisor, because we do so much more. And you know, and I love to share my knowledge with people. So I'm passionate about helping people, and because I've been there as a, you know, business owner with my husband, entrepreneur, a single mother. So I understand what it takes to, you know, to struggle and you know, both on the personal level and in business. So, you know, Blackmore Levy Group's been the perfect fit for me. And I can actually say that I love my work.
No, that was a great advertisement. Thank you very much. Makes me feel very good. But I'm glad you joined. I'm glad we finally had that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, like-minded people find each other, right? So
there you go. So COVID-19 hit, and shortly after that, you got notice from one of your tenants that were moving from one of your homes, and you decided to move back to Niagara after living in Burlington for 6 years. Why did you move back to Niagara, and how did you find working from home?
Well, I didn't intend to move back to Niagara, but you know, I have clients in Burlington, and I've also got a lot of clients in Niagara. And some of my clients are clients that I had at the bank. But I found I was driving to Niagara 2 or 3 times a week, visiting clients. And I'm also belong, you know, to a mastermind group that meets every weekend, every Sunday morning. Used to be 8 o'clock. Now with COVID time, it's 9 a.m. But before it was in person, then with COVID, it was online. And during this past summer, it's been outdoors. So now I'm closer to my, you know, clients, my mentor, my business coach. And since we're not, you know, going into the office in Burlington every day, since we've been sort of in isolation, it just, you know, it just felt right. Like I said, you know, like you said, one of my tenants had given notice, and I wanted to fix up my, you know, my house. And so it was a, you know, good opportunity. And we've had to adjust, just like so many other people, we had to work online. So it was challenging at first. I love to talk to people and meet people face to face, but technology is not one of my strong suits. I try and resist it as much as I can, but it has been a learning curve, and it's been good, because the more you do it, the more you know, become comfortable, and it becomes easier. And gosh, thank goodness for Zoom. My daughter's in BC. My granddaughter is now 15 months old, so I've watched her grow online. But again, thank God for Zoom, because, you know, it's almost like she's there. So, but everything is online, like all of our insurance, mortgage companies, investment companies have all their forms and applications online. So it makes it so much easier. And we're really blessed, because we're helping so many people, and we can get to so many, you know, people more. And some clients actually find it easier dealing online. They don't have to, you know, we don't have to go to their house at a certain time, and whatever's convenient for them. And it's not just young people. I find some of the, you know, middle-aged or mature people love to deal online as well. So, so we do our presentations on Zoom, and it's convenient for a lot of people. And working from home has also, it's cut back on travel time. And you know, all the other expenses that go with it, gas, et cetera. And we're able to help more people. And I've been so, well, you know, Joanna, we've both been so busy helping people save money, and we've been helping other people make money. And one of the things you know, is that all of our clients and their investments have been better off before this happened with COVID. So, you know, last year we started our Let's Talk About Money Ladies seminars for women. And because we had our presentation ready, we were continuing, we're going to continue with our seminars in October. So we've already got the information ready just to pivot and just go straight online. And I'm passionate about educating women and about their finances. And, you know, we've gotten such a great response from our blogs. Because, you know, we talk to people in layman's terms so that they can understand what we are teaching them. and you've got such a great way of telling stories, Joanna, that, you know, that people can relate to, and that's what we do. And so, you know, change is inevitable. I mean, when you think back of major changes that we've all had in our lives, it's shaped who we are today. You know, sometimes our paths go through the garbage dump, as they say, but you have to persevere. And I believe that we've got a purpose in life, and sometimes our paths are not easy, but we have to accept that change and accept that, you know, change will happen. And you know, with careful planning and keeping a positive mindset, I believe that we can be successful in whatever we do.
Thank you. That's very, 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 very true.
Thanks.
My last speaker, our fourth speaker of the day, is Joan Hing-King, my lovely friend, my other lovely friend. I've known Joan for 14 years, and I've learned a lot from her in personal and the business world. Joan has quite a diverse background and experience, and I thought it would be best for her to share her story. That's why I left her to the end, because she's made some big decisions in her business and career, and she has a few statements. So instead of having questions for her, I'm just going to tell her diverse story. So thank you, Joan. You got mute. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself, darling.
Oh, thank you for those fabulous words, and thank you for inviting me. I hope I don't go over the time. I didn't know what to say. There's so many things in my life. But one of the things I'm going to say, there has been certain words which I would say cliches in my life that I have used to kind of guide me through my life. And you know, my early years of marriage was a very challenging one. And because of that challenge in my marriage early on, I decided a man was not a plan. And as a result of that, I vowed never to stop working, and also that I would learn everything I could possibly learn to secure my life financially, my financial life. So I happened to be at the time working for the Royal Bank when I was there. And I guess it was a great opportunity to learn finance and to learn about investing and savings and all that. So I was an avaricious person at learning. And on the 1 year after I got married, we were able to buy our first home, you know, buying in those days Canada savings bonds. You know, the fact is that I was so full of wanting to be an independent woman financially that I decided that I would start you know, a club, an investment club with my girlfriends, and we called it WIT, Women Investing Together. And because I was the president of the company, I had to know more than the people that was in the club. So I decided to take the Canadian Securities course, and that opened up the world of investing with stocks. And I learned right there and then the difference between speculating and investing. And I think when I look back at my life, I realized that everything I did throughout my life has led up to the day where what I do today. The second step from the bank, I moved to working with accountants and then to lawyers. Again, you know, helping me in the business world to do what I'm doing today, to be able to negotiate, to be able to talk analysis of properties and things like that. Well, you know, my background allowed that to happen. I worked for 25 years for lawyers, and I did every field of law: real estate, estate, family law, securities, corporate. I did the gamut for over the 25 years. And I think, again, the background again helped me to where I am today to be a good realtor. You know, I learned a lot, but anyway, one of the things I realized there and then that I cannot retire on a salary in the lifestyle I had grown accustomed to. You know, I couldn't save, you know, any big set of money because you have kids, you have mortgage, you have everything. You're never going to save that amount of money to be able to retire in the lifestyle that I was growing up. So, you know, what I did, somebody approached me and I did a network marketing company, which I did to supplement the salary I was making. But, you know, it was more than just the salary I was making. Network marketing helped me a great, great deal one thing I learned was how important self-improvement was. I mean, they make you read lots of books and you go to a lot of seminars on self-improvement. And that was huge, a huge thing for me. And also what it also taught me is how to cope with rejections. And wow, do I have rejections in real estate? So you know what? It also, that business also helped me in coping with rejections today. So, you know, after going through everything I did, I realized that everything leads up to the fact that has helped me in my business today. Now, one of the other things that I'd say is one of my guiding principles is I realize that the words are, if you want to increase your net worth, you've got to increase your network. And that was the beginning of me starting to network. I used to go to one networking a week. I would go to one network a week, and I'll only meet one person per week. And that one person I would invite for coffee, or we'd go to lunch or something, and they would invite me to something else. And then I'll meet other people, and they would invite me to something else. And as a result, through all those networking events that I did throughout the year, I got involved in some great opportunities and met some amazing people during that period of time. And, you know, I feel that that is something that's very important, to be able to network a lot. Because I think that if I didn't network that much, again, I wouldn't be in this business that I'm in today. But, you know, I want to just say that during that period of time that I was in the network marketing business as well, I read 3 amazing books. And one of them was Think and Grow Rich. The other one was a book by Robert Allen, says how to buy properties with no money down. And the other one was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Those 3 books helped me to believe in myself and that I could become a real estate investor. And I went on to build a portfolio with those knowledge, just from reading the books and going to seminars and things like that. I built a real estate portfolio with that. And in real estate, just as I got into real estate, I learned a huge, huge lesson. And one of the things is another, you know, words I say is luck is preparation meeting opportunity. And I went to buy my first investment property. It was at Sherborne and Richmond. And one of the people told me, oh my God, you shouldn't buy in there because, you know, there's the ladies of the nights up the road, you shouldn't buy. But I knew that Tridel was building across the street in the next couple of years. And if Tridel was going to build across the street, it had to be, they must have done their due diligence. And therefore, I went ahead and I bought those 2 properties. I'm glad I didn't listen to the people, and I bought those 2 properties. In the end, when that property was built, those 2 properties were built, the 2 units, I got, they improved in value $100,000 each. I had $300 and $600 cash flow every month from those properties. So, you know, so yes, I was lucky because I was prepared to take the risk because I had the knowledge. And that's what I say, preparation, luck is preparation, meeting opportunity. And that's why I was able to take that opportunity at that point. Because of my passion for real estate, I'm always one of those people that believe I should create a club. So I created another club to do real estate investing. And in 2000, I formed that club because there was nobody I knew that had real estate clubs. At that time, I made this great investment into these condos, and I wanted to continue doing more investment. So I thought it would be nice to have people come together to share their experiences and to share, you know, money or invest together, whatever. Because what I found is, because I had belonged to a very small club, that very shortly after 3 weeks, it folded. So I created my own club. And what I realized by going to the same, every week or every month, going to the same, having the same people at the club, you begin to realize who only talk the talk, but don't really walk the walk. And I think by having my own club and going there every month, that helped me to discern who was the people, who were the ones that I was going to do business with, because I knew who were only just talking the talk, but not walking the walk. The next thing, I was at 5, I decided to have my real estate license because I was already investing, and I thought, oh, well, I may as well get my license and I would be able to find the deals myself firsthand. But I'll tell you something, real estate, being a realtor, has done more than that for me. What it did, it helped me help my children, so I could help my children buy their own properties. That was the huge thing. And I was able to build a legacy for my grandchildren. And how I did that was through the strategy of pre-construction. Pre-construction, because of the way it is done, the model, I can pay down, in installments. And on top of that, I was being paid like maybe 20, 30,000 at a time. So I could not, instead of spending that money, I could put it to one of my deposit payments. So over the years, I was able to buy each of my children, or not buy, but help each of them. I would put the deposit down and they would carry the mortgage. And now I've bought other properties, which will go into my legacy. So I think that real estate has done that for me. And I really I have a passion for it. And I believe that it's in my DNA, to be honest with you. During COVID, I would have to say it changed my way of thinking. Real estate is a physical thing. It's a personal thing. I always say it's not a transactional thing. It's a personal relationship business. And, you realize that you're not meeting your clients as much as you would like to. And so I was thinking also too, I'm getting older. I'm getting up there in age. And I want to do something that is much less physical. So I decided that I would go online and become an online entrepreneur. So I have 2 businesses that I'm presently pursuing. One is Shopify, which I have my assistant working for me. And then the second one is stock options trading, which is really my passion. All my life, I always say I have a husband and I have a lover. And my husband is my real estate. It's steady. It gives me the money, everything. And my lover is my finance. I love finance with a great passion. So that's why I say that I have a lover and a husband. And I'm glad to be able to blend the both, have them both at the same time. I also made big decision in my business too. I decided that I was going to use the bank's money and not sweat equity. Of course, sweat equity is cold calling, door knocking, but now I've transitioned into using the bank's money to buy digital marketing, and there I can get the leads and get new leads for my new projects. So I've kind of like shifted to pre-construction a lot, and I'm putting out ads there, and that costs money. So I believe in using the bank's money now than my sweat equity. I think I want to save my legs. And my goal for the end of the year is that I'm a successful online entrepreneur. I will keep investing and, of course, continue to build my real estate business. Another big decision I made about 3 years ago was to leave a company that I had worked for 12 years. And I saw this new company. They'd only been here like a year when I joined them. I was number 23 in the company. It's totally in the cloud, and it's a disruptor in the real estate industry. But what I loved most about it is that it allows me to grow my residual and my passive income. This company is amazing, and being in COVID, it's even better because it's totally in the cloud. So I have to say, I thought I made the best decision in my life in moving to this company because it works me for my retirement. So to sum it all up, what I believe helped me through my journey in life is to say that luck is preparation meeting opportunity. I'd also like to end with a phrase that I always say, for me: your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal self-development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. And so that's why, if everybody knows that who I am, I attend a lot of courses, I read a lot of books, and I'm always self-improving, because I'm hoping before I die, I would have reached the pinnacle of success. That's my story.
Thank you very much, Jo. You had to tell your story because you had so much to tell, and you've taken so many courses. When I met you 14 years ago, I'd never met someone that knew so many people. They weren't cold market, they were warm and hot. I said, how do you know so many people? You said networking. And I hadn't done any networking like 14 years ago. And you told me what you did. And I thought, you said, to build your net worth, you need to build your network. And I thought, that was really cool. So I wrote that down. And then when you said about a man not being a plan, I thought that was fabulous, because I've just gone through a separation. I thought, wow, a man is not a plan. So these little phrases, you have so many of them, and they really mean something and make sense. So it just made sense for you to tell your story with all your little, not acronyms, they're little sentences you say.
I don't know what they are.
Well, we keep talking about luck is preparation to opportunity. I know that off by heart, because I've heard that so many times. But they're good, it's good little phrases. I hope you've all enjoyed hearing from 4 different ladies tell 4 different stories. And we're all women, so we all learn different ways and like different things. So I'm going to open up for any questions. If you have any questions for any of the ladies, or like give good suggestions, or you have something to say, because we have 25 minutes, and I'd love to hear what you all have to say. Anybody?
I'll start. Thanks for sharing your stories, everyone, because sometimes you go through life and you think you're the only one with difficulties or challenges, or that, that you've think you're doing the right thing, and then there's a glitch in your path. And so it's nice to see other people and what they've gone through, and sharing their stories, because I think it's really important for us to support each other as women. I mean, when I was in banking, for well over 24 years in Toronto and in Niagara, it was mainly a man's world. And so you had to work even harder to prove yourself. And I remember that boss that criticized me for my loan application. I was bending over a filing cabinet, and he came up behind me and almost pinched me in my waist. And I turned around and I said, "Don't you dare." And he said, what? And I thought, you know what? You have to stand up for yourself. And my daughter is very, very independent. And so we learn from things that we've gone through. And like you said, Kristina, you want to teach your daughter, and you want them to become stronger. And just every generation, you want to teach them something. So I appreciate everybody sharing their stories, because, some of our lives we can relate to, or it's come almost the same path. And but it's just important to hear everybody's story and see what they've gone through, because it might look great on the outside. You might think, oh, she's a successful banker, or successful business owner, or successful financial advisor, but you don't know the garbage that we've had to go through to get where we are. So it may look like we may make it seem easy, but it's not necessarily. Again, we've overcome challenges, and you're a stronger person because of it. So thanks everybody for sharing.
Does anyone have any challenges that they'd like to ask a bunch of women about? Questions, or anyone's got solutions, or heard of something that's... There's so many people doing different things right now. Hi, Jackie.
Hi. I just have more of like a something that interests me or found fascinating is that all four of the speakers today, one, thank you for sharing your stories, but two, came from the banking world. So is that just coincidence on the call today, or like what was it about that time period where women were looking to go into the banking? Is it because you saw other women progressing in that industry? Yeah, I just find it fascinating that everyone came from the banking world.
I can
Right.
answer that, or if you'd like me to comment to that.
Okay, Linda.
I had a career in banking that was close to 35 years before I retired. And I really enjoyed it. And very similarly, it's the aspect of helping people and educating people. And I think that for me, the bank really allowed me to do that. And over that many years, of course, I held various positions from marketing through to retail management and commercial management. So I got to move to a lot of different departments. And it really was a broad education. I totally understand where the banking system in the last 10 to 12 years has really, really shifted. The shift started about 15, 20 years ago, but it's increased since then. And yes, there are sales targets, and it's really changed, I think, the flavor of banking. So when it was time for me to retire, it was something that I was ready to do. And as much as I miss my clients and I miss the branch and things like that, it just becomes an extension of you. But now I have found that I am allowed to do what I've always enjoyed doing. I now get to pursue a true passion that I have, always still connecting with people, and I'm still helping people in a lot of different ways. But now it's more gratifying because Oraine said it. All of a sudden, you know, a client doesn't need a specific visa. And if you don't sell the right visa, I really hated having those conversations. I absolutely did. And because I didn't believe in them. But that's where the shift is going. Everything was becoming brown dollars instead of green dollars. And it's just the world of the banking. And I think it's purely coincidental that on this call, we have 3 people that have financial backgrounds.
The funny thing is, I didn't know. I thought I knew Kristina as marketing, communications, branding, and I knew Irene had been in banking but changed, and I knew that Linda had retired happily, like she had a successful. Joan had only been at RBC when she came to Canada, and then she went into accounting. But really, I knew Joan from the law. She was in the law profession for the longest time, and then she retired early from. You didn't say you retired. She took an early retirement at 50. Joan's going to write a book that her life began at 55.
I love that. I'll jump right into and just comment too about the banking world. I mean, it wasn't my intent actually to start out in the banking industry. I wanted to work in packaging and, you know, work in entertainment industry, and it just happened to be. But working in the financial district downtown Toronto, it was, you know, a very exciting place to be, especially I would be like a ghost town now, I would assume. But it was a very exciting place to be. But I also learned very quickly as a woman, it was also very challenging. And I think that's really where it spurred my passion to be able to elevate and support other women, because I wasn't necessarily, some women would definitely do that. I mean, there was a lot of politics at the bank and in the institutions that I worked for, but I also got some really great contacts, and a lot of them were women. I mean, I ended up working, some of my clients were like really high roster clients like IROC, OSC, Ontario Securities Commission, CSA, Lung Association, like a list can go on and on and on. So I think it's all purely coincidental, but I think working, as Linda said, at the bank, it gives you such a broad education because they're such large corporations. You do become a little bit of a number, but I mean, if you meet the right people, and you have the right connections, and that networking and the relationships that Joan was talking about is so key. And it's amazing how the world of banking, it's like everybody needs financial help, right? So right down to the teller helping someone in the branch. And, I was doing a lot of the programs and the marketing for that. But I also realized too, that are these really helping people? So at the end of the day, I also wasn't really aligned maybe with their big picture. And so that's where you start to realize, you're more than this, and you can do a lot more and have a lot more impact, but it gives you a really great foundation. It doesn't have to be banking. It could be any other large company too. I think it's a great way to learn skills and understand what other departments do and other disciplines, and where you can take that and apply that knowledge to your own business or consulting, or it may be just even working for another company. You're like realizing these core values, whether it's a partner or, if you're looking for a job or a new career direction, make sure their core values align with yours, and make sure they walk their talk like Joan says. I mean, they can put all that fluffy brand values on their papers and their mission statement and all that, but unless they do it, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead, Joan.
Kristina, I really resonated with your story about partners, and if you're not on the same wavelength and this, and money wise and things like that, I mean, that is the problem with a lot of partnerships. And I understand that so totally. That was very good advice. When we go in, we usually go into business with people we think we know, we love, and we trust, but are they on the same level as us is a whole different story, and I admire every one of you to go from a job to business, because it is a big leap. For me to go from a job to real estate, it really wasn't that great a thing. I think going into real estate was more of, even though it was as a step in a different direction, it was more a personal thing for me to get into it, and anybody to me can do that. But what Linda did to pivot to something is an amazing, I think, to go from banking to travel tea room, and how effortlessly you do it, Linda, is amazing, and of course, Oraine, I think that, for you to go from banking after, the many years and to be an entrepreneur is another thing. I think being an entrepreneur is one of the hardest things, because what I find is that we can be up one day soaring and we could crash the next day. And I think that is the biggest thing I find is hard about being an entrepreneur or a sole person in your business is that, and I was telling somebody today, is that when you down, you don't know who to turn to, because you're kind of like down there in the dumps, and you really would like to speak to somebody about how you're feeling, like you're feeling effed up and you want to get out of it, and you don't know what to do. And I think that is the hardest part of being an entrepreneur and working for yourself. And I think that to pivot from a job, it's so different. Sometimes I yearn for the job. I was getting a salary every month, and I knew when it was going to come in, and I think, why did I leave my job? And then, and then I think, well, oh, why would I want to go?
And you're right, Joan. I mean, sometimes you wonder why you left your job, but my first job out of university was on Bay Street, and I applied to a headhunter, and they happened to have this job at this U.S. bank, and they were paying a higher salary than what I wanted. They were paying $12,500. I almost turned it down because I thought it was too much money in the early 80s. Anyhow, within 6 months, I got a raise of $5,000, and I was 23 years old and dealing with governments of Europe, multinational companies across North America with their finance department doing letters of credit and doing loans administration. I thought, oh my gosh, for me at that age to be doing that kind of thing, it was incredible. So when my husband, after 5 years, my daughter was born, he said, let's go back to Niagara where we grew up and take over the family farms and the fruit market, because, he was tired of the corporate world. And of course, I was doing very well, but, it's just sometimes the stress, I guess. I don't know. So I followed him, and same thing, Kristina, he went into business with his family. And so because his brother was an accountant and it was the family business, I let them do what they needed to do, but I didn't take care of the finances. I took care of our personal finances, but you know, it wasn't until 8 years later that I realized that we were slowly a sinking ship. And even though I was in banking and helping everybody else, sometimes you just don't, you know, you don't look at your own situation. And Jackie, to your point, there was a lot of people on stress leave at the bank. You enjoyed working with people and helping people, but you know, as Linda said too, eventually it started to get, it was just a numbers game. And I did very well in sales, not because I was pushing the product of the month, but because I really cared about my clients and what would benefit them. And again, a lot of people on stress leave, but it was, when I left Toronto and came to Niagara, I didn't think that I could do anything else. I just thought that all I could do was banking. But it was a good stepping stone. And you meet a lot of people and you get involved in the community. And, and I was the women's market champion for RBC because women were growing in business and they recognized that there were a lot of, women entrepreneurs. And so, like everybody else said, it was a good base and it really opened your eyes to, a lot of finances.
Anybody else have anything to add? Elaine, you had a very successful corporate life. You came to Canada when you ran away from home, but you didn't. You came to Canada at 19. You lived at the Hamilton YWCA. You started low on the totem pole, and you worked your way right the way up to CEO. And then you retired happily, successfully, and you also, like Linda, weren't ready to start crocheting. You want to share what you did?
Yes. It's been a very interesting conversation because in the corporate world, you do learn, as Kristina said, you learn a lot of skills, and I've never regretted having a very eclectic corporate life, learning IT and marketing and management and leading big teams and doing transitions from the US to Canada and back again, and all those HR roles, severing people, which is not a fun thing to do, but you in every aspect of a corporate job you do learn different skill sets, and then each one of those skill sets you can use as an entrepreneur. So I think that's what I got from all the speakers today, that no skill that they have learned has gone, unrewarded in the entrepreneurial life, because it's given you that stability to know that you know how to deal with stuff. And, all of us have had like life journeys, and life journeys are not easy. There's ups and downs, and I certainly love Joan's thing. A man is definitely not a plan. And I learned that really young, coming to Canada at 19, with no friends here and no relatives in Canada. I quickly learned that, I had to be financially independent, because there was, other than running back to the UK with my tail between my legs, there was, I had to make sure that I supported myself. And then, even after you're married, a man is not a plan. When I was first married, I was supporting my husband through Mohawk College. And then later on in our marriage, he decided to become an entrepreneur. Excuse me. And so, you had to help him with that aspect. And then later on, I was like Kristina, I became a widow, and I had to take on my husband's business, which I really hated. And so what I had to do is nurse that along for 3 years until I could sell it, at the same time having this corporate career, which meant I was flying all over the place. So as Kristina said, you sometimes you have this outward appearance of being, fully in control, but underneath you're swimming like mad under the ocean, right? Just to keep yourself afloat. But I think one thing I've learned from this whole today is resilience. Women are extremely resilient. Whatever they have to do, they find a way to do it, right? Even, and without letting other people really know what they're doing. They just, every one of us has a story, and it's not the Cinderella story necessarily, but women, I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. I think women are extremely brave. I think somehow some women have lost their confidence, lost the risk-taking, lost their way a little bit. And I don't think women today have any more clarity than we had, 20, 30 years ago. I think we should be further along in acceptance of women in business than we are today. And that's my life's ambition as I'm older, is to help women in their career or their entrepreneurship, and teach my daughter, teach my granddaughter that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And you're going to come across all these crossroads, and you just have to find a way around it, and without losing your integrity, without losing who you are. You just keep pushing forward, just like one step at a time, and you'll get there. So this has been a great forum of discussion.
Yeah, I'm glad. Michelle?
Yeah, I just wanted to share, it's so inspirational, and thank you all, because it's, these are personal things. This isn't a little, business speech from the podium. You're sharing very intimate details about yourselves, and it's very nice to hear that, because then it allows you sometimes who may be feeling vulnerable about sharing your own details, that it's okay to be a little bit vulnerable about that. And I've just found what I'm hearing in the theme of all the ladies that spoke today is the stuff that I share with the career clients that I have as I'm coaching them, is we all have this superpower, but we don't always know what it is. And so it takes us a little while to then just think back, thinking over my career. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Well, when was a time that you actually, were able to get over something? When did you have resilience? When did you actually feel really smart? When did you, help somebody else? Where did you have the proudest moment of helping a client? And asking ourselves those questions, we find that there's almost this theme or this common thread of what our transferable skills and our strengths are. And it's quite interesting, I would say, to all the ladies that spoke today, to even ask yourself, if I go back in my career, what is the little nugget on each one of those pieces that actually turns into this who I am today, because it's gathering all of those pieces along the way. And we all have a superpower, which is sometimes we just have to find it.
That's very true. It's true. Next month, we have the lovely Marianne D'Alessandro. Did I say that correctly? Marianne is going to be our speaker. And do you want to just say a little bit about what is going to be?
Yeah, sure. So the topic is going to be appetizers. So pour yourself a glass of wine and sit back and enjoy. We're going to talk about different apps, and most of them are free, and most of them are pretty common ones. We're going to talk about some benefits of the different apps and what you can use, and to be a lot more productive in your business.
Thank you.
I'll give you a little walkthrough on each of them so you can see some of the features.
Good. I feel that's a good idea, especially free apps. And like Marianne said, you can have a glass of wine because it's going to be 5 o'clock somewhere. Happy hour somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's going to be October 14th. It's always the second Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month. So October 14th, we've had our Thanksgiving with our small little group, or our big group on Zoom this year. Yeah, thank you very much. So does anybody else have anything they would like to add or say, or have any questions?
No, I'd just like to reiterate what some of the others said. The stories are very inspiring. And I love some of the words that were used, pivoting and thinking differently, and even just tears. Linda talked about tears. it happens, right? Things come up and you cry and you get over it and you be brave again. And so the stories were really wonderful. I love hearing it. And I'm always inspired and appreciative of everybody's openness.
Thank you. I just wanted
It's
to
always-
say, sorry, Michelle?
I was just going to say, and thank you to all of you who know who you are, who have actually helped me go through my transformation and my significant change in the last year and a half. And, each one of you has played a role in being able to help to lift me up. So it's still happening. I'm not going to be a millionaire anytime soon. It's stuff starting to trickle in, but, business is starting to pick up, but it's taken a year and a half. And I'm just super, super grateful that I've been part of this and some of the other groups that we've been connected to, because I would have gone back to the corporate world with my tail between my legs, and I probably would have been really, really unhappy and very, very unwell. So thank you all.
Well, you still look fabulous. And I always say, I learned something from Joan Hing-King. I have a check in my purse. I'm a millionairess. I just haven't cashed my check yet. I wrote myself a check for $1 million. So I'm a millionairess. I just haven't cashed my check yet. I'm not lying.
I love that.
I
Visualizing.
learned that from Joan Hing-King. So I have a check. I am a millionairess. I just haven't cashed my check yet. I just want to share one thing. I started networking, a networking group because of Joan Hing-King in 2011. And I did it with somebody else, and we started, and then we went, and then I went through a separation in 2012. I took a sabbatical. I took a year off, but I had a team, and I wanted to start the networking. I really threw myself into the networking group, not as for me, for my business. It was to collaborate and meet other people, because it's building relationships. So I never promoted me. It was never about me and what I did, and it was all about meeting people. And then I could refer people to somebody else, this network really helped me. That was my support going through a separation. But then I've met many people many times, but they didn't really know what I did. Like Oraine didn't know what I did. People thought I was a connector. I was never talking about me, so no one knew what I did. So when I finally, Elaine and I had met many times on networking groups, and we kept saying we're going to do coffee, going to have coffee, and we never did. And then I was on Facebook one day, and it was her birthday. I said, forget the coffee, we're doing lunch. I'm taking you out for lunch for your birthday. I remember that lunch. I'll never forget that lunch. I used to say to people, when they said, what do you do? I used to say, I help people get out of debt and save for retirement. Well, she didn't know anyone in debt at the time, so she couldn't really help me, but didn't really know what I did. So when I drew on a napkin what I did, because I drew a house, 5 years we'd known each other. She had no idea what I did. She says, you need to rebrand, and that's what you are in the house. And that's how the purple house came. Right? And Elaine helped me brand, and now people know what the Blackmore Levy Group is. Because sometimes you forget, because it was never about me, and I didn't want it to be about me, because I'd taken a sabbatical, so I had nothing to talk about. I just wanted to build relationships with like-minded people, because he was very corporate, and when was I going to make money, and when was I going to get a real job, and this was, and it wasn't working. So I didn't want to be. It wasn't about Joanna and finances. It was just about building relationships with friends and being a true person, being an honest person, helping real people that are going through struggles too. Because I'm not perfect, not far, but not perfect, but we all get strengths and weaknesses from each other. So together we're great.
Well, what we were doing was pulling out your purpose. The purpose, what your life purpose was to help people, and it wasn't coming out in your business. So,
right.
And I think that's women, we hide a little bit. We hide ourselves a little bit instead of getting out in front and being, putting ourselves out there. Maybe it's the woman thing, I don't know, but I mean, why should we hide? I mean, you're not hiding now, and it's doing fabulous. Like your case studies are just going through the roof on your website. 125 people have read the blog in just a little short while on the difference between mortgage insurance and life insurance. Who would have thought a subject like that would be so interesting? But, you know, the way you tell stories, people understand it, and therefore, you know, they must be recommending it to other people. But that's what I say. Every woman entrepreneur should be out there telling their stories, and like Linda, and you know, doing the different things that she's doing, not just being in one channel there. And Joan, like, all of you are so talented. There's, you know, women just have to sort of have more confidence, I think, in their abilities. We have it, but it's quiet. It's under that little, you know, we don't just get out there, and we still need to do that.
We're so busy helping other people, and
exactly.
we put everybody else first. And like you said, you know, Joanna, when I met Joanna, she didn't even tell me. I didn't even know really what she did.
No, me neither.
You know, for the longest time. And but you have to build relationships. You have to build that trust, especially in finance. You know, not everybody, you know, because, you know, people just revert to the banks, or they, you know, they know what they know, and you know, and until you try and educate them, and without being forward, or just, you know, just sharing information, and that's what I like, is just educating people, especially women, because we tend to leave the finances. And even though I was in banking, I didn't know what my husband was doing with his business, you know, behind the scenes. So, you know, we really have to sort of open our eyes and take care of ourselves too, but, you know, still, you know.
Well, that's the thing. You just never know in your life what's around the corner. And that's why understanding that aspect of your life is so important. I'm sure, Kristina, you would endorse that, right? Being a single parent yourself, Oraine, you know, myself being a widow. Like, if you don't understand the financial part of your life, you know, what are you going to do?
Very challenging. I mean, I think as a single parent too, like, well, I mean, I've been widowed and I've done the whole gamut, right? But I think if you don't, you're going so hard and so fast, and sometimes you think everything's okay, but you're not really looking at your investments or your finances, or really maybe cut back on some things you don't need to be, you know, those subscriptions and things can really add up. So it's really important to understand your finances. I mean, I think there's still lots for me to learn. I always, not just finances, but anything, but that's the backbone of your, you know, your legacy, your family, and how you can provide for your children. So I think it's integral, and I think that skill set you should also then transfer to your business as well, or even if you're working at a company, you know, make sure you're taking the time and not going at Mach 20. Take that time and look at your finances and revisit them every couple of months. What's going on?
Yeah, I remember even in the corporate world, one of the first courses I took was finance for the non-financial manager, because at the time I was the marketing manager, and I didn't really quite get in early in my career how important the financial part was. But oh my gosh, it was so important to have that foundation.
Well, I want to thank you all. This has been very good. Thank you, ladies, for opening up, for telling your stories. I think we've all learned something. I learn something every time I hear the story.
Yeah, me too.
I think that's what empowers women, right? We're not the only one going through something like that. Right? So thank you very much. If anyone wants to stay on and talk some more, great, but I don't want to keep you on if you don't need to be on. So it's 4:37. But thank you. I love you all, and I'll see you next month, if not before. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.